So one of the first things that I want to talk about was the issue of whether Crawford and Porter did drug testing. You brought that to my attention, and I said that I wasn't sure. I thought there was, but maybe there wasn't, and we needed to look into this. So the first thing that I did is I went online and I looked at the VADA tweets where they welcome and congratulate fighters, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But there's nothing there. Okay. So I did send a text to Margaret Goodman at VADA earlier today asking, was there or was there not testing? So hopefully we'll get an answer here from her, because I don't know. The issue was that one fighter was PBC, Porter, the other fighter was Top Rank. You indicated the Top Rank was the lead promoter. And I'm going to show you here several instances where when Top Rank was the lead promoter, that they did in fact were announced by VADA, and they also, for the Fury and Wilder fights, it actually says TGB Promotions. So I found a couple of instances there with Fury where they even, because Top Rank was. So the deduction is, until we know back from Margaret, maybe there was no testing. So I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. Now, the next thing is I want to go down this list of the VADA tweets for announcing that fighters are going to be tested for a fight and then congratulatory after they've completed the program. And first of all, I want to talk about,
if I may, before you go down the list, may I respond to what you said about the...
Sure.
Okay. Now, I want to put this in perspective, because there may have been something lost in the translation. The last time you were up here, you said that Al Heyman and all of the fighters from PBC's banner, they don't allow VADA to announce the enrollment or the... first of all, the enrollment, meaning that, hey, they enrolled.
The welcome, they call it.
Or the welcome, or the congratulations that they completed the program. So what I asked you was there any other promoter that you used the word muzzle rule? So I'll use it as well. Muzzle rule, meaning, and I asked you specifically about Top Rank and or Bob Arum. You told me originally, yes.
Okay, that I misspoke when I said that.
Okay.
I'd like to address that. Okay, right now.
Come on.
It's a great place.
All right.
At 2808, we were talking about this, and I misunderstood. I guess it's 73. My hearing's not as good as it was years ago. But when I responded to you, you said, so Top Rank has a muzzle rule too. And I responded and I said, yes, that was a mistake. Okay, but listen to what I said shortly thereafter. I said, yes, they do. And I thought you were talking about PBC. And I said, yes, they do. Anytime Tom Brown pays, there is a muzzle rule. That has nothing to do with Top Rank. So when I said yes, that was a mistake. Okay, I misspoke there. I was wrong.
Okay.
So there is no muzzle rule on Top Rank. It's exclusive to PBC. And that's just getting where I was ready to outline the history here and provide further clarification. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
So because let's clarify something before you move on real quick, Vic.
Sure.
So because there is no muzzle rule for Top Rank fighters, it is safe to say that since Terence Crawford was a part of Top Rank at the time of 2021, of course, he was with your program, his first fight, fighting Shawn Porter. If Top Rank doesn't have the muzzle rule, then it might be safe to assume that Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter did not test for VADA. You understand where I'm going with that, correct?
Yes, I do understand.
All right.
And however, my opinion now that I went back and looked at the VADA website, because I don't cruise there routinely, I don't know what they have on there, but you referenced that the last time that Terence had done this was in 2020. Yes. Which I know that's not correct, because I know he did testing a limited amount for the BLK fight that he had, and also for the fight against Spence. So I did see.
You mean
yes. So apparently VADA is not keeping up. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So you can't, it's clear that you understand when you go there. I don't believe that's definitive information, because you said, well, when Devin recently fought, he was on there and Regis was on there. So why is Terence not on there?
Yes.
So I just don't think that they're staying on top of posting each and every time. So I think the way to clarify this is to go directly to Margaret, which I did, and ask her for that clarification so I can provide it to you. Okay.
Yep. And
So I'm letting you know what I did to try to, so we understand this, because I'm not clear either.
Yes, I appreciate that, and let me also include that, because that was a good point. So it wasn't just, I just want to be clear so you understand my position. So it wasn't just Devin Haney and Regis. It was Devin Haney and Lomachenko and all the fighters from 2021, 2022,
well, that's
and
exactly
2023.
where I'm getting ready to go now. I'm going to give you the history. Okay.
All right. Yes. Okay.
So let's talk about that for a minute. First of all, I'll just give some examples, because I don't want to go to every single fighter, but what I found. So Shakur, Teofimo, and Loma are always announced, and they are always welcomed. And what it says underneath is Top Rank, Bob Arum, and Carl Moretti is typically the pattern. They list officers as well as Bob Arum and Top Rank. Devin and Regis, of course, they always list Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, and Frank Smith, the CEO. Each time that Queensberry, and they had quite a few announcements and welcomes as well, they always put Queensberry and Frank Warren. Now let's talk about Canelo and Ryder when he fought, and that was under Matchroom. Of course, they put Matchroom and Eddie and Frank. Then Canelo goes over to PBC and he fights Charlo. No tweet, no clarification, no transparency, none. So we don't know what's happening. Let's go back and look at where you had Teofimo and Kambosos, where you had co-promotion, and you had Matchroom, and you had Top Rank. Both names are listed, plus Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum. So you've got two promoters here that are allowing both Top Rank and Matchroom, Margaret, to announce and congratulate Teofimo and Kambosos. Now let's go to Caleb Plant and Canelo. This is a real interesting one, because this had the largest budget, as I told you, in an amount of $40,000. And interestingly, what I was told by Margaret at the time was, I paid the $20,000 for Caleb. And she said, we will just bill the other $20,000 directly to Canelo, and he will pay, not the promoter. Okay. So what they said under, no promoter is listed. Victor paid, Canelo paid. Then they listed WBC, IBF, and WBO. Mm-hmm. Now, here's a real interesting one, as you know, and this is the only one that I found in the history of these announcements, is Tyson Fury, and Wilder. Mm-hmm. Both Top Rank and TGB promotions are there. No PBC, but it never is going to say PBC. It's always going to say TGB. So the only 3 fights ever in the history of VADA announcing welcomes and congratulations is Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, and Fury was the headliner. And of course, this was under Top Rank. But PBC was a co-promoter too. So we know that that Tom Brown, apparently, if he didn't pay, this tells me that Top Rank paid. Because what I'm telling you about the muzzle rule is how you can define what that is. Whenever Tom Brown pays from TGB Promotions, the muzzle rule's on, and there is no testing, and it's exclusive to Tom Brown. Okay? Okay. And there are no other examples of this. Let me continue. So we clarified the misunderstanding that we had. When you look through all of these, of course, I learned something that I saw in one of your interviews when he said, well, PBC only did 66 shows in 2023. Who said that? 18 shows. The guy who said that? Me? We had that hostile interaction with the guy, Rick. where I
Oh,
heard that.
Rick Glaser, he said that.
Now, whether it's correct or not, I don't know. But he said, look, PBC only did 18 shows compared to Top Rank, who did 66. And
Yes,
I believe Matchroom likely probably did even more. So they're not one of the major players here in terms of promoting fights. They're way down in terms of actual number of events that they promote. So let's talk about another issue that we talked about when I said.
Vic, before you get to your next issue, may I respond to the list?
Sure.
There's one name, Victor, that you forgot to mention.
Which one?
Well, you mentioned all the promoters, Queensberry, Matchroom, TGB, Top Rank. But there's one name of a promoter that you forgot to mention, and that is Desmond from BLK Prime. In other words, it's Terence Crawford. I asked you, was he tested for David Evanesian's fight? You told me limited, but that promoter, I don't know if he has a muzzle rule, but his name was not on that list. So we don't know if Terence Crawford was tested or not, because VADA didn't put it on the website that he was tested.
You're correct. There is no, they did not mention it.